Hello and welcome to today's deep dive. I'm so glad you could join us because, well, today's a pretty significant day. It's April 5th, 2026.
Right, which means tomorrow is a huge deal over in Thailand.
Exactly. Tomorrow is the start of the Songkran festival. For you listening, if you're not familiar, this is the biggest travel period of the entire year over there.
Yeah, it's a massive nationwide migration. Millions of people are hitting the road, heading home to see their families.
And this is what we're really getting into today. Behind the scenes of this huge cultural celebration, there is a total energy crisis unfolding.
It's basically an economic pressure cooker right now.
Seriously. In our sources for this deep dive, we're looking at a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying chain reaction. We've got surging global fuel prices that are triggering everything from desperate government subsidies to, like, street-level fraud.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there.
No, it goes all the way to cross-border jungle smuggling and literally millions of liters of fuel just vanishing from corporate depots. Our mission today is to trace this whole thing from the top down.
Which is the best way to understand it, I think, because normally, when fuel prices go up, you just feel it at the pump. It's annoying, but it feels localized.
Right.
But when you look at it systemically, fuel is like the blood pressure of a country's economy. When it spikes, the whole system bends in some really unpredictable ways.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with the most legitimate above-board consequence, the very first domino to fall when fuel spikes.
Public transportation. Always public transportation.
Right. So we're looking at the state-owned transport company in Thailand, known as BKS. They run a massive portion of the bus networks, and they are essentially being forced to raise fares.
And the math behind this is just brutal. I mean, they built their entire operational budget assuming diesel would stay around 34 to 35 Thai baht per liter.
Which seems like a totally reasonable baseline, right?
Historically, yes. You build your payroll, your maintenance, your whole model around that number. But the global market just did not cooperate. Diesel shot up to 40 baht per liter. Yeah, and that jump means BKS's transportation costs spiked by 35% per trip.
35%. You can't just absorb that.
No, especially not when you're already bleeding money. Last year, BKS lost something like 200 to 300 million baht. They are already in the red.
So they have to pass that cost on to the consumer. And they announced this fare hike, which when you read the headline, it actually sounds tiny. It's 5 satang per kilometer.
Right, and for our listeners, a satang is just a fraction of a baht. It sounds like literal pennies.
Yeah, but you're talking about long-haul routes. If you're going from Bangkok up to Chiang Mai, that's hundreds of kilometers.
Exactly. Those pennies compound really fast. If you're a working-class family of 4 traveling for Songkran, that eats into your wages immediately.
Which is why the government is stepping in to soften the blow, kinda. They're doing this phased rollout.
Right. Phase 1 starts tomorrow, April 6th.
Yeah, but that's just for the smaller vehicles, like the 3,000 public vans and minibuses. The big tour buses, the ones carrying massive amounts of people for the holiday, they get a buffer. Their hike doesn't hit until Phase 2 on April 20th.
Because the government is terrified of crippling holiday travel, so they are heavily subsidizing those big buses right now.
And here's the crazy part. They are using the National Road Safety Fund to do it. They're paying out operators based on actual passenger counts. BKS is even proposing to drop their dispatch fees just to keep things moving.
It's an aggressive intervention.
But wait, I have to push back on this. Because if they're subsidizing holiday travel by draining a totally different fund, the Road Safety Fund, the actual cost to the fuel hasn't changed, right?
Right, the fuel still costs 40 baht a liter.
So aren't they basically just taking out a high-interest payday loan to pay their mortgage? Yeah, people get to travel this week, but this temporary subsidy is just delaying the inevitable economic shock for the public.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're 100% right. Economically, it's a terrible idea. The most efficient move is to pass the cost on immediately.
But politically?
Politically, you cannot blindside your citizens with unaffordable travel costs the day before the most important family holiday of the year. It's a balancing act. They're buying 2 weeks of social stability.
Meanwhile, BKS is warning that if fuel hits 45 to 50 baht, a second hike of 5 or 6 satang is coming no matter what.
The balance sheets are screaming.
They really are. And that brings us to the next level of this crisis. Because when a government tries to artificially cap prices to protect consumers, the economic pressure doesn't just disappear.
No, it just finds the weakest link.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It forces bad actors to find creative, highly illegal ways to maintain their profit margins. And that takes us out of the bus terminals and right into people's kitchens.
Yes. The cooking gas market.
All right, liquid petroleum gas, or LPG. The Department of Internal Trade had to launch a massive crackdown because everyday citizens started complaining that their cooking gas cylinders were running out way too fast.
And to understand why, you have to look at the government subsidies again. By law, a standard 15-kilogram LPG cylinder is capped at 423 baht.
They are desperately trying to keep food affordable.
Exactly. But to keep that price at 423 baht, the state uses the oil fuel fund to pay the difference. And because global prices are so high, that fund is currently almost 40 billion baht in the red.
Wait, 40 billion?
40 billion baht in debt, yes.
That is staggering.
It is, but think about the vendors, the guys running the filling plants. Their electricity, their transport, their labor costs are all going up, but they legally cannot raise the price of that cylinder past 423 baht.
So what do? It's just like shrinkflation at the grocery store.
Exactly like shrinkflation.
You know, when you buy a bag of chips, it costs the same, but you open it up and there are like 5 chips inside. The price of the gas tank is capped, so the vendors are just secretly shrinking the amount of gas they put inside.
It's a brilliant, highly illegal workaround, and the scale of it is what's really shocking.
Yeah, the Special Patrols found 57 underfilled cylinders just sitting at filling plants in Nonthaburi and Ayutthaya.
They caught them right at the source.
And it wasn't just there. They caught major distributors down in Chonburi and out in Songkran and Yasathon. They slapped them with a 20,000 baht fine each for violating Section 85 of the Weights and Measures Act and seized all their gas.
And they hit the smaller retailers in Pathamthani, Chachoengsao, and Satan with 10,000 baht fines.
So I have a question about this. If they're finding this highly specific scam happening across completely different provinces from Nonthaburi down to Satan, doesn't that suggest a total systemic failure? Like the capped price is just completely incompatible with the actual cost of doing business.
Yes. Absolutely. That's the breaking point. When you artificially suppress a price to the point that your national fund is 40 billion in debt, the market severely distorts.
The pressure has to vent somewhere.
Right. This widespread underfilling isn't some giant coordinated mafia conspiracy. It's just a symptom. When making a legitimate profit becomes legally impossible, fraud becomes the default business model.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
If shaving a few ounces of gas off a cooking cylinder is the micro-level response, what happens when someone looks at this massive, heavily subsidized market and decides to exploit it on a larger scale?
You get arbitrage, high stakes, cross-border smuggling.
Let me set the scene for you listening, because this is straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
There's a joint task force, military, police, customs officials stationed out in Kanchanaburi at the Bansong Kalia checkpoint.
Right, Mu 8 Nonglu, it's a rugged area.
Yeah, and they get a tip. So they stop this 43-year-old guy, Munkul Wamani, driving a pickup truck. In the back of the truck, hidden underneath these heavy bags of export ice, they find 42 plastic jerry cans.
Just packed in there.
Packed in. It's a total of 12,260 liters of gasohol.
And the economics of his plan are just fascinating.
They really are. He admitted he bought 30 of those jerry cans from a local gas plant for about 60 baht a liter. He got the other 12 from a regular gas station. And his whole plan was to use these natural, unmonitored border crossings to sneak into Myanmar.
Because right across that border, there are no Thai government subsidies. The market is starved for energy.
Right. He could sell that exact same fuel in Myanmar for 100 baht per liter. Buy low in the subsidized market, drive across an imaginary line in the jungle, sell high. It's a 40 baht per liter profit margin.
It's the ultimate black market day trading. The price difference between the two countries is so extreme that everyday citizens are turning into smugglers.
But wait, I have to stop and think about the reality of this. He has 12,260 liters of highly flammable liquid. He's driving a pickup truck on dirt border roads under the hot sun with essentially a massive bomb sloshing around under some ice bags right behind his head.
It's incredibly dangerous.
Is a 40 baht profit margin really worth that kind of risk?
What's fascinating here is how market distortions override human logic. When the economic gradient is that steep and people are feeling the financial squeeze of a crisis, the immediate cash reward suddenly outweighs basic self-preservation.
That is just wild.
It shows how international borders become extreme friction points during a regional crisis.
So what does this all mean when we scale it up even further? Because we went from the guy shaving gas in his neighborhood to the guy driving a mobile bomb through the jungle. What happens when massive corporations decide to manipulate this exact same energy crisis?
The scale goes from a few hundred liters to millions.
Millions. The Department of Special Investigation, the DSI, just uncovered a massive fuel hoarding scandal. And this isn't some guy in a pickup. They are investigating 6 major fuel depots down in Surathani.
And the names on this list are heavy hitters in the energy sector.
We're talking about PC Siam Petroleum, 2 facilities owned by PTTOR, a joint Shell Bangchak facility, Starfuel Marketing, and Cisco.
These are massive institutional players.
Right. And the DSI auditors found a glaring anomaly. They looked at the intake records, the sales records, and the physical inventory for February and March of 2026.
It's a very simple equation, really. Intake minus sales should equal inventory.
Exactly. But for one of these depots, the math didn't add up. There was a discrepancy of over 2 million liters of fuel. It just vanished from the books.
2 million liters doesn't just accidentally spill. That is deliberate artificial scarcity.
It's so serious that DSI Director General Yuthana Pradam set up a dedicated war room. He brought in the National Police, Surathani Police, the Thai MECC, the Department of Energy Business, and the Marine Department.
They're treating this as a top-tier national threat.
They're rushing to get the DSI board to classify it as a special case under the Price of the Goods and Services Act of 1999. And they want to do it right before the Songkran holiday hits.
The timing is everything here.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. Because to me, this sounds exactly like ticket scalping.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Like, you know how scalpers hold back concert tickets to create fake demand and then sell them for double the price? Are these massive corporations essentially betting that prices will surge in April because of Songkran travel? So they just strangled the March supply to maximize their profits later?
This raises an important question about corporate behavior in a crisis. Because yes, that is exactly what the authorities suspect they are doing.
Wow.
And think about the context we've laid out today. The government is 40 billion bahts in debt, trying to keep things affordable. The working class is facing fare hikes. Small businesses are resorting to fraud just to survive.
Right.
And while all of that is happening, the corporate level is actively sabotaging the national economy by hiding fuel. Artificial scarcity drives the prices up even faster, which forces the state even deeper into debt. It's a massive betrayal of public trust.
It's completely interconnected. The ripple effect is undeniable.
From top to bottom. Yeah, I mean, just to recap this journey we went on today, we started with the BKS buses fighting a 35% cost spike, realizing they just had to pass the pain to the passenger.
Then we followed that pressure to the neighborhood vendors, legally trapped, shaving gas from cooking cylinders just to keep the lights on.
Which led us to the Kanchanaburi border, where a guy is hiding 1,000 liters of gasohol under ice to exploit the subsidized price difference with Myanmar.
All the way up to Surat Thani, where corporate giants are allegedly hoarding 2 million liters of fuel to scalp the market during the biggest holiday of the year.
It perfectly illustrates that energy isn't just a line item on a budget. It is the invisible force that completely dictates human and corporate behavior.
It absolutely is, and it leaves us with a really provocative thought for you to mull over.
What's that?
If energy is the literal lifeblood of an economy, and extreme price volatility can trigger everything from micro-fraud to massive corporate hoarding, how does a society ever actually secure its energy supply without eventually bleeding its own public funds completely dry?
That is the ultimate question. Because as we saw today, you can't just cap the pressure forever. Eventually, it breaks right through the weakest links.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the anatomy of an energy crisis. It's been fascinating. We'll catch you on the next one.